All right, so we're going to talk about pride and home ownership, and it kind of goes without saying that home ownership and pride should go together, uh, because it is, as you always say, the biggest purchase of your life, right? And people should take pride in that. The fact that, first of all, not everybody gets to own a home, and I think that we're entering an era now where it is becoming somewhat, I don't want to say rare, but it's not as common as it once was, right?
Yeah, and I think that it's definitely harder for first-time home buyers now than it ever was before. And, specifically when we're talking about pride and, if we're talking about, any same-sex couples, I think it was even challenging for individuals to be able to buy a home even before, now. So I think, some of the struggles that first-time home buyers are facing today around affordability, it probably was the same type of struggles. Only, things change, over time. I think one of the big thing is today that first-time home buyers are having a super hard time getting the funds together for, down payment and closing costs, but also that affordability. There's a really low percentage of homes that are owned by, same-sex couples. And, and I'm not sure why that is, a low percentage. I think, one thing that we can kind of think about is sometimes there's some socioeconomic challenges. I think that's certainly one. And, I think when we think about home ownership, it's about putting roots down in the community. And I sometimes feel like it is challenging, no matter what type of group that we're talking about, to break that barrier down. And it's 2021. A lot of the barriers have been broken down, but I think it's so important to talk about it. And if we're thinking about pride and we're thinking about first-time home buyers, there's a lot of things that are kind of similar to the challenges. And I don't want to discount it, Todd. I don't think it's a walk in the park for anyone, becoming homeowners. And I think even for people who do own homes, I think that's also challenging. And I think that's something that we have to also think about. We need to remember that it is challenging, and everyone's challenges are a little bit different. So I think it's certainly an interesting time, 2021. We would think that, things have certainly gotten a lot better for a lot of groups, but I don't think we're all the way there. And I think that we're going to see some new challenges come. And some of those new challenges are certainly going to be around things like affordability and, just access to be able to, finance that home. At one time, and here's something that's kind of interesting. Our new office is in downtown Halifax at 5151 George, which is the old Bank of Montreal building. And I'll throw it out there that it was Bank of Montreal. I think everyone kind of refers to this building as a Bank of Montreal building. We don't do business with Bank of Montreal, but we certainly do business with, a lot of the big five lenders. And when we were renovating this new office, we found some old, not so much documents, but I guess kind of documents from Bank of Montreal. And it was an old signature card that we found, probably from the 1950s or 60s. And the primary person on the bank account was, a male. And if there was a secondary person on the account, it was a female. And if the primary person on the account was a female, you had to write wife of.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the only choices.
Yeah.
The choice was either it's a single male or a husband-wife.
Yeah.
Or if it's going to be a woman opening a bank account, you had to write who the husband was of that person.
Yeah.
And, obviously things have changed, over time. But I can't imagine how challenging it would be for a same-sex couple in 1960 to get a mortgage from any financial institution.
Right. Yeah.
I can even tell you in the 15 years that I've been doing mortgage lending, I get asked all the time, what's the relationship with these two borrowers? And we'll code it correctly. We'll say single, but together, common law, but together, married, together, one's divorced, one's single, but together. And, you know, we get asked the question all the time, and it's kind of innocent, you know, but underwriting will come back and be like, what's the relationship with these two borrowers? And it's not just because it's, you know, two, same-sex borrowers. It's two of any borrowers. They ask a lot of questions, and there's more questions that get asked today than I think probably any other time. You know, the pendulum really swings kind of both ways. When I first started 15 years ago, we could just kind of throw something at the wall and see if it would stick. And now we have to diarize more and more, information, and we get asked a lot of questions. And I sometimes feel sensitive to the questions because not everyone wants to be asked, you know, what is the situation? But when you're doing something that's the biggest purchase of your life, and that's certainly buying a home, the mortgage is the biggest debt, we kind of have to give all those pieces of information just to make sure that, you know, obviously the lender understands what that kind of risk looks like.
Wow. There's a lot there to unpackage, actually, and I feel as though that there's more to that conversation, but we are going to need a break. So can we revisit that?
100%.
Okay. Mortgage 101, your guide to home ownership with Clinton Wilkins and myself, your host, Todd Veinotte, will be right back.